They want you to believe this is just another bad Sunday, just another ugly loss, just another quarterback struggling to find his footing. But that's a lie, and Stephen A. Smith wasn't dodging the truth when he reacted to Kevin Stefanski standing at that podium, avoiding a simple question about his job security like it was radioactive. This wasn't about Buffalo. This wasn't about watching the tape. This wasn't about focusing on the next opponent. This was about fear, pressure, and a franchise once again staring at the mirror and not liking what it sees. Because when a head coach with 3 wins on the season watches his quarterback throw 3 interceptions, get sacked 5 times, score 0 touchdowns, and walk off the field in a 31-3 embarrassment, the question isn't unfair, it's inevitable. And the silence, the deflection, the refusal to engage tells you everything you need to know. Stephen A. didn't raise his voice to make noise. He raised it to cut through the noise, because someone had to say what everyone else is afraid to admit. This situation is combustible, and somebody's future is going to burn. The Browns don't get to hide behind patience anymore. They don't get to pretend this is part of some long-term master plan. And Shedeur Sanders doesn't get a free pass just because he's young, just because he's polarizing, just because the environment is messy. That's the uncomfortable reality. This isn't just a bad offense. This is a referendum on leadership, on vision, on whether Kevin Stefanski still has a grip on this team, or whether Cleveland is once again drifting without a compass, clinging to past awards while the present collapses in front of them. Stephen A. stepped right into that chaos and said the quiet part out loud, and that's why people are uncomfortable, because when you strip away the excuses, when you strip away the injuries, when you strip away the talking points, what you're left with is a brutal question. Who actually has more to lose right now? The quarterback trying to prove he belongs, or the coach whose reputation might already be written in ink? This all exploded after that disastrous loss, after Sanders finished the game with 0 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions, and no ability to get Cleveland into the end zone. With only 3 wins on the season, Kevin Stefanski was asked directly about his job security, and instead of confronting it, he sidestepped it. He talked about focus, he talked about tape, he talked about the Buffalo Bills, and that non-answer became the answer. On First Take, the conversation shifted quickly to what really matters here. Who has more at stake, Shedeur Sanders or Kevin Stefanski? Stephen A. didn't hesitate. He said it's Sanders, and that statement alone lit a firestorm. If you're enjoying this kind of real, unfiltered breakdown that doesn't play it safe, make sure you subscribe to the channel and drop a like, because this story isn't going away anytime soon. Stephen A.'s argument was simple but uncomfortable. Kevin Stefanski is a 2-time NFL Coach of the Year. Even in a down season, even with the Browns spiraling, he has a resume that travels. If Cleveland decides to move on, Stephen A. believes Stefanski will land on his feet, likely as soon as the next hiring cycle, with plenty of openings expected across the league. Shedeur Sanders doesn't have that luxury. Sanders is auditioning in real time, under the harshest lights, with every mistake magnified and every interception reinforcing the doubts people already have about him. Stephen A. pointed out that Sanders may not get another runway like this one. He may not get another chance where a team hands him the keys and says, prove it over the rest of the season. And the irony, the part that twists the knife, is that Stefanski's future might actually hinge on how committed Cleveland is to Sanders. Because if the Browns are thinking about using one of their 2 first-round picks in the 2026 draft on a quarterback, then the timelines matter. Stephen A. made it clear, you don't draft a quarterback at the top of the draft when your head coach is sitting on the hot seat. You don't want a rookie quarterback tied to a coach who might not survive the season. He even pointed to how that dynamic has played out elsewhere as a cautionary tale. So suddenly, Sanders' development isn't just about Sanders. It's about whether Stefanski stays or goes. That's where the tension really starts to build. Because while Stephen A. acknowledged that Sanders is polarizing, that people around the league have strong opinions about him, he also made it clear that polarization cuts both ways. If this doesn't work in Cleveland, Sanders might not get another extended opportunity. Stefanski, on the other hand, almost certainly will. That's why Stephen A. said Sanders has more at stake, and that caught people off guard. Others on the panel initially leaned towards Stefanski being the one under the most pressure. But as the conversation unfolded, the layers started to peel back. They talked about Sanders as a young player with growing pains, about how improvement matters more than perfection. They talked about the Browns potentially viewing him as a bridge quarterback if he continues to show progress. They even talked about the roster, about the good pieces Cleveland has, about a strong draft class and a defense that's been praised repeatedly. But then the conversation turned, and this is where Stephen A. sharpened the blade. Because at some point, you have to stop pretending this is only about the quarterback. You have to look at the coach, you have to look at the offense, you have to ask what Kevin Stefanski's signature is supposed to be. Stephen A. laid it out clearly. Whatever gets you the job, that's what you're judged on. If you're a defensive guy and your defense stinks, that's a problem. If you're an offensive mind and your offense is at the bottom of the league, that's not bad luck, that's accountability. Stefanski came to Cleveland as an offensive coach. He was the offensive coordinator in Minnesota. Offense is supposed to be his calling card. And yet, when you look at the Browns' offense this season, it's brutal. Yards per play, last. Total QBR, last. Yards per game, near the bottom. Points per game, near the bottom. Those aren't cherry-picked stats. Those are the core indicators of an offense that simply does not function. And here's the part Stephen A. refused to let slide. It's not just Shador Sanders. Stefanski has cycled through an alarming number of quarterbacks over the years. 13 quarterbacks since 2020. Let that sink in. 13. At some point, it stops being about the players and starts being about the system, the coaching, the environment. Baker Mayfield looks good elsewhere. Other quarterbacks have found success away from Cleveland. Meanwhile, in Cleveland, the offense keeps failing. So when people rush to bury Sanders, Stephen A. pushes back just enough to redirect the blame. Yes, Sanders' numbers since taking over in Week 12 are ugly. 16 points per game, one of the worst scoring offenses in the league. Completion percentage near the bottom. Interceptions piling up. Passer rating near the bottom. Success rate near the bottom. Stephen A. didn't hide from those numbers. He put them on the table. But then he asked the question that changes everything. Does any quarterback work in this offense? Any at all? That's the heart of the controversy. Because if no quarterback thrives under Stefanski, if no quarterback consistently looks competent, then how fair is it to pin everything on a young, polarizing player thrown into chaos? Stephen A. wasn't absolving Sanders. He was contextualizing him. He was saying you can judge Sanders and still judge Stefanski. In fact, you have to judge both. Injuries, missing receivers, a battered offensive line, all of that matters. But Stephen A. made it clear that it doesn't stop the evaluation. If Sanders gets judged despite those circumstances, then Stefanski has no excuse after 5 or 6 years on the job. One playoff win, that's the resume in Cleveland. And it came with Baker Mayfield, a quarterback who now looks pretty good without him. The conversation even touched on what some called malpractice in how quarterbacks have been handled, shuffled in and out, given no real chance to succeed before being moved aside. From veterans to young players, the instability has been constant. And instability starts at the top. Stephen A.'s tone wasn't reckless, it was pointed. He kept circling back to the same idea, revisiting it, reinforcing it, building tension with repetition. If nobody works for you, eventually the finger points back at you. That's why this reaction resonated. It wasn't just about one press conference. It wasn't just about one loss. It was about a pattern. Kevin Stefanski avoiding the job security question didn't make it disappear. It amplified it, and Stephen A.'s analysis forced everyone watching to confront the uncomfortable possibility that Cleveland's problem isn't just the quarterback of the moment, but the offensive identity itself. Sanders may have more at stake personally, his future hanging in the balance with every snap. But Stefanski's legacy in Cleveland is being quietly dismantled in real time, one empty possession at a time. And that's the tension that refuses to go away. Because as long as the offense looks lost, as long as quarterbacks come and go without answers, the debate will rage. Is Sanders failing the system, or is the system failing Sanders? Stephen A. didn't pretend to have a neat resolution. He just refused to let the conversation stay comfortable. And in Cleveland, comfort is the most dangerous illusion of all.